welcome to our first lesson in teaching pronunciation. Today's lecture is going to be about keys to a successful pronunciation lesson. Let's get started. In today's lesson, it is an introduction of sorts. We're going to talk about some things that are important and issues that will help you be better at teaching English pronunciation. We'll look at individual syllables and how those individual syllables are stressed within words and within sentences. We'll touch on a little bit how different words are stressed within sentences, but we're going to get into that a whole lot more in lesson 3. So, the vocabulary that we're going to use over these next few lessons, and actually throughout the whole course, are here. So, I'll go through them. I'm not going to define all of them today, but these lessons, these words are going to be used. They're going to come up in our lessons from time to time. Some of these today, some of them lesson 2, some of them lesson 3. Some of them in every single lesson, they will come up. So the first one, this is called alliteration. First time I'll say it, pronouncing all this, the individual phonemes, okay? And then I'll say it like it's normally said. So, for example, alliteration, nobody says it like alliteration. We say alliteration, okay? Assonance, diphthong. This one's a little bit tricky because you have, I'm going to underline there, we have a PH-TH together. And that's very rare in English. How do you pronounce that? Well, the H is kind of silent. Okay, the first H is silent. Diphthong, okay? Then we have intonation, and we've got the root of that word being tone, okay? So intonation. And then these words here, the root of these is the same, okay? P-H-O-N has to do with sound of some kind. So phoneme and phonics related to each other. We have these two words that also have the same root, rhyme and rhythm, stress, syllable, and tone. Let me get rid of my writing, my underlines, okay? Minimal pairs. Now, minimal pairs is a great tool when you're practicing pronunciation with your students, with your learners. Minimal pairs is where you take two words that are the same except for one particular phoneme that we are practicing, okay? So that phoneme gets changed to something that's similar. I haven't given you the definition of phoneme, but can you guess what the meaning is based on how I've used it 2 or 3 times now? Jace, chase. Jace, chase. So only one particular phoneme is different in those two words. So we can have a list of words where they are pairs, where one phoneme is different. Jace, chase, chin, shin. So shin and gin, I guess gin and shin. But now we're focusing on the CH and the SH, right? The ch and the sh. So chin and shin. Then we have a whole list of words that are similar, but have those two phonemes that we're practicing contrasting with each other. We will use minimal pairs a lot in this course, okay? Pretty much every lesson is going to have some minimal pairs. Almost every lesson. Why are you taking this class? Why are you taking this TESOL program at all? Well, I'm going to assume that you're taking the TESOL program to improve your teaching. And this particular course, because it's part of the overall program, but I want you to think about this course in 2 ways, okay? First of all, as a teacher, and what can you take from this class that will help you as a teacher? But also you're a student, right? You're learning. So I want you to take this course from the perspective of a learner also, and how you can improve your own pronunciation. Because we all have areas of pronunciation that we're not great at, okay? There's some things that we all have difficulty pronouncing. Even native English speakers, there's some sounds that combined together, we always get a little tongue-tied, tongue-twisted, tongue-tied. And so there are some things, we'll do tongue twisters as activities, and there's going to be some times where you'll see me struggle with these tongue twisters. What are some difficult areas for you in as an English language learner yourself? What are some areas that you need to practice? And when we get to those areas, notice take note of the things that you can do to practice those and practice as we go along. Hopefully you're taking this class in a quiet area, not in a public place, so that you can actually speak out loud and practice saying these things while you're at home in front of your computer or in front of your phone or your tablet. Practice saying these things and use your phone and your camera to look at your mouth and the shape of your mouth as you're saying some of these phonemes, these pronunciations, especially the things that you struggle with a little bit. So as a teacher and as a pronunciation student, some things to think about as you're taking this course and as you're planning your own course in teaching pronunciation is think about how pronunciation is currently being taught where you work. Is it being taught where you work at all, right? Is it part of the curriculum, or is it just something that teachers are expected to do? Is phonics, for example, part of the curriculum? And phonics is certainly related to teaching pronunciation, but it's also associated with teaching reading. It's where those two things come together. What is your role in the teaching of pronunciation? Are you their primary pronunciation teacher, or do you have a native English speaker who is expected to focus on the pronunciation and you don't have to worry about that? But the reality is, if you're teaching the language and you're speaking, you have to worry about it. I'm sorry to say, if it's your weakness, we still have to think about it. We have to consider it. What are your particular strengths and weaknesses with pronunciation? There's two ways we can approach this. As a teacher, we know what our weaknesses are. We can hide those weaknesses, right? And create different ways around so we never have to expose those weaknesses to our students. But that never truly works. My recommendation actually is to embrace it. We're not perfect. And the students know that. They know that you're not a native English speaker yourself, and your pronunciation is not going to be perfect. Some parents might have a negative view if it's really bad, but your pronunciation is fine. I'm sure there's going to be areas that are hard, but use your weaknesses in class and say, oh, even I struggle with this one. This is a tough one. This is hard for everybody. But you can do it. You're younger than me, and you can learn it much better than I can. Use the language to teach them to do it, and they'll be fine. Use the resources outside of class as well, like audio files and things like that. And then this is for you as the learner. What do you most want to improve? How do you plan to use this course to improve your own pronunciation? Okay, so think about this today as we're doing our first lesson. What can I do to improve my own pronunciation? What kind of things from these activities can I use to practice and prepare? And that will help you be a better teacher as well. In teaching pronunciation, one of the roles is, as a teacher, is to help them perceive sounds. Okay, teachers are guiding our students, but we also can tell them when they're not hearing it correctly, right? Our students will hear English through Korean ears. That sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? They will hear English through Korean ears. Of course, our learners are Korean. But what I mean by that is through the sound of the Korean language, okay? So because from the time before they were born until they walk into an English class, the language that they have been hearing their whole lives has been Korean. The rhythm of their life is Korean language. And the rhythm of English language is different than Korean. And the sounds are similar, but different. So think of this as a metaphor. Do you remember the first time you ever saw a lime? Limes are kind of like lemons, but they're not the same as a lemon. And limes are still somewhat rare in Korea. They used to be completely impossible to find, but now you can find them pretty easily. Think about a lime, and how would you describe a lime? And so if our metaphor is this lime, we're seeing it for the first time, and you think of it as an unripe lemon, right? We can tell it's a citrus. The shape of it is the same as a lemon, but the color's different. So we think, oh, it must be an unripe lemon because that's what we're familiar with, but it's not. It's close, but it's not the same. So our job as teachers is to introduce the lime to our students and show them how it is both similar to a lemon, but different from the lemon at the same time. We're doing that with sounds, okay? This sound is similar to Korean sound, but a little bit different. This sound does not exist in Korean at all, so it's a little bit tricky. This sound is, here's a Korean sound and here's a Korean sound. This one is kind of in between. So it's kind of like a lemon. It's related to a gyul, to a mandarin orange, but it's kind of different, right? So we are, differentiating between lemons and limes. So another role of a teacher is to help the learner to make sounds, to pronounce sounds, and to give feedback when they make a mistake, when they say it incorrectly, to praise them when they do say it correctly. So we need to establish priorities so our learners know what to work on first. So the first few weeks of class, if you have some students, you're taking a lot of notes on their pronunciation, sort of making a list of the things that we need to attack first, and maybe include some things that are easy fixes, and then some things that are going to take a long time to work on, slow, difficult, long-term projects, we'll put it that way. The teacher's role. It is the role of the teacher to come up with good activities, right? We need to match the activities with our students to make it better, to make the classes better and more effective. Our teachers need to be, us teachers, need to be able to assess the progress that learners are making. So assessment becomes important. It's tricky assessing speaking and assessing pronunciation. But if you can record them in the beginning of the semester, audio recording of the class, if you have permission to do that, and then play them that recording at the end, huge difference. You can hear that difference like night and day. But since it's a slow progress, sometimes it's a little bit harder. Okay, each of our lessons, these 20 lectures that we will have together, there will be some pronunciation practice. Okay, sometimes it will be individual phonemes that we work on for the whole class. Sometimes it will be part of it. Sometimes it will be the something like rhythm in a whole sentence, intonation, things like that. And so today we're going to do some of that. And these are things that we can practice here, but then we can use in our classes too. So syllable stress and word stress. In Korean, because of the way Hangul is written, it's very easy to see where the syllables are, right? Each syllable is a block of letters. But in English, it's a lot harder to do that. And also you might have a word that is spelled the same, but could be pronounced in two different ways, okay? So it's a little bit more difficult, and we have to think about how do we pronounce it. And if you only see the word, sometimes it's impossible to know. You need to know if it's a noun or a verb, for example. So this word here, before I say it, okay, we'll just look at it. This word here, I put the stress underneath where the stress is. And then this word here, the stress is in a different location, okay? So the spelling is the same though, okay? This first one means not valid or legally ineffective. So the stress is on that second word, invalid, okay? So if something is invalid, it means it's not valid. So for example, you have a coupon for something, a coupon, and you bring it to the store and you're buying it, and the cashier looks at it and says, oh, this coupon is invalid. It expired last month. It's invalid. It doesn't work anymore, okay? But this word, if we put the stress on the first one, it's a completely different word, invalid, okay? They're a chronically ill or disabled person, okay? Invalid means they're not able to do as many things as somebody else. So same spelling, different word. Different stress, though. Now, I have a rubber band. And for the next, 5 maybe 7 or 8 minutes. As I'm talking, I'm going to be doing this as I'm talking. Okay, I'm going to be doing this as I talk. Okay, it's going to be a little bit awkward sometimes, but try to figure out why I'm stretching it like this. Okay, can I use a rubber band and the thing at the same time? Now it's to see how see if I can do this, if I'm coordinated enough to do 2 things at the same time. So rubber band, this is an activity that you can use with your students. And I have one big rubber band for me. It's bigger because my hands are big, but also because I want you to be able to see it. But if you choose to do something like this with your students, you can have a smaller rubber band because their hands are smaller than mine, and they don't need to see, they don't need it to be seen through a video camera or at the front of a room like a classroom. So for this, if you're going to do it as a teacher, get a bigger rubber band. Try to figure out what I'm doing. Okay, so I'll set the remote down for this. Sometimes the syllables or a word is stressed in a sentence differently. Could be the same sentence, and on the page, on the paper, it looks the same, but if you're speaking it, it's going to sound different. Okay, so for example, I love chocolate. I love chocolate. I love chocolate. Okay, they all are the same 3 words, but they all have different meanings. And the meaning is carried by the stress that is in within that sentence. Okay, so I love chocolate. It answers a question. I love chocolate answers a different question. I love chocolate answers a 3rd question. So what question does I love chocolate answer? Who loves chocolate? I love chocolate, right? Who loves chocolate? I do. So the stress tells the meaning. I love chocolate, right? And here, I love chocolate. It's a different meaning. So the stress in a sentence can convey meaning. I love chocolate answers the question, what do you feel about chocolate? Okay, do you like chocolate? No, I don't like chocolate. I love chocolate. I don't like ice cream. I love chocolate. Okay, so it's how do you feel about chocolate? I love it. Okay, now this sentence the 3rd time, I love chocolate. Different question, right? What do you love? Well, I love. Oh, I did it on love. I love chocolate. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit awkward as I'm stretching because I'm not thinking about stretching as I'm talking. If you have a 2-syllable word, where do you put the stress? A 3-syllable word, where do you put the stress? Okay, there are rules about where you put the stress based on a number of factors, whether it's a noun or a verb. For example, 2-syllable words, usually the stress is on the 1st syllable. Tuesday, awful, ever, brother, oven, window. Compound nouns. Compound word, remember, is if you remember from your English lessons as a child, compound word is where you've got two words, bed and room, that are put together to make one new word. So bedroom, stoplight, schoolhouse, bookstore. So if it's a compound noun, usually it's on the 1st syllable. All of these say usually because there's always exceptions to rules in English. That's the hard thing about English. Tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, are stressed on the 1st. 10, sorry, 10 is only 1 syllable. 2-syllable word. 20, 40, 50, 70, 30. Okay, stretching, stretching, stretching. Next. 2nd syllable stress. Okay, compound verbs are different than nouns. And if it's a verb, a compound verb, the stress is usually on the 2nd syllable. Outdone, outsmart, outdo, outrun, overlook, undo. This undo, do, is different than this undo, which is a different spelling but sounds similar, but stress is on a different part. Reflexive pronouns, usually it's on the second one. Myself, yourself, herself, ourselves. The stress is on the second syllable with reflexive pronouns. Sometimes the spelling of two words is the same, but the verb and the noun are stressed differently, okay? So if you have a difference of opinion, you have a conflict, okay? If you have an area that has very little rain, like the Sahara Desert, then it's on the first syllable. If we have it on the second syllable, that means it's the verb, to conflict, to desert, okay? The second syllable, to desert something means to abandon it, okay? To conflict means to kind of fight a little bit, okay? So the conflict between the left and the right is ongoing. The left and the right's interests sometimes conflict. See the difference there? Okay, the soldier will not desert his post in the desert. He will not desert his post in the desert. Okay, so the same spelling, but a different word. Okay, some more of these examples. You try to use a rubber band again. We project that the project will be great. He objects to the ugly objects being placed in his office. Please record the record. Please record the record. My parents will present me with a cash present upon graduation. To present a present. Okay, 3-syllable words get a little bit complicated, okay? Things that you have to remember, these rules, but the more you speak, the more you forget about the rules and you just know them. You internalize the rules. 3-syllable words end with ER, OR, LY, or Y, so or li, or E at the end. Generally, the first syllable is stressed. So energy, hospital, organize, equally. So words that end in shun, which could be T-I-O-N or S-I-O-N, so both of those are pronounced the same. They're both shun. Ik, I-C, or al, A-L, generally have the stress on the syllable that's right before this. So think about pronunciation. The stress is on the A on pronunciation, right? Because it's right before the T-I-O-N. Consumption, denial, vacation, offensive. Now we've got a longer word, organization, preposition. Okay, now I was a little bit awkward sometimes. I made a few mistakes with the rubber band, but you noticed what I was doing, I hope. I was stretching it on the stressed word, okay? Now we can also do it I was doing it a little bit when I was speaking, but we can do it when we're doing rhythm of a whole sentence, not just the word itself, okay? So I was stretching the band at each stressed syllable. It is an easy thing to, maybe not so easy. If you are practicing more, it's easier. It's easy thing you can do as a teacher and easy to have students do, okay? We'll get into the rhythm of a sentence in another lesson. Okay, another teaching tip is when you are introducing new vocabulary to a class, when you write the word on the board, especially if it's a longer word, indicate where the stress is, okay? You're writing words on the board or you're giving them a paper with it printed out, or it's pretty easy to either underline or put a little stress mark or capitalize the words in that sentence to show them where that stress is. You do that the first few times that you put it on the board, that you write it, but you need to get into a habit. You need to make that a habit so that you do it without thinking about it. So it's something you always do when you put a new vocabulary word on the board, okay? Just the first time, okay, when you're introducing it, that way they can put the stress mark where they need to. They know where to put it. And believe it or not, that is all for our first class. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you've learned something from this class that is useful for you. I hope that it is a class that is useful to you as a teacher, but also as a learner of the language yourself. And I hope to see you in our next lesson. Take care.